okay, the poll said 29% are watching fewer games. A poll also said 27% are watching more games. Of that 29% that are watching fewer games, 40% attributed to the protest. Skip, you and I talked about this earlier. But also, if you look at the age and the demographics of the group, 53% of the respondents are 55 or above.
Okay.
And then 18 to 34 is only 13%. So you see how this is going. You see where this is going, Skip. The people that was kind of like late 50s, 60s, coming up to the civil rights, they have this belief. Other groups that the millennials that weren't involved in that time, relationships have got maybe a little better in their time, view it differently. For me, and I said this before, I'm a guy that I don't let the buildup destroy the event that I'm going to see. Because I don't believe that 2 minutes can deter me from going to see something that I really want to see. Now, obviously, people feel differently. Like you said, Skip, Patriots, that flag, it means something to me, and Colin Kaepernick is being disrespectful to that flag. The question I have, if Colin Kaepernick were to stand and there were no more fists, are you going to start watching again? Or is it that your team isn't any good? Or maybe you just don't really care about football. Maybe it was just something that you watched in the meantime, and this was a reason. So you know what? That's why I'm not watching it, because of the protest. Because it's hard for me to believe that an avid fan that's been watching NFL football can say, you know what? Because this guy's doing something for 2 minutes that I might or might not see. Because if you notice lately, they don't even pan the sidelines. They don't even show it anymore.
Right.
So only reason you know he's doing it is because it's being written about.
Yep.
You don't see it anymore. So I'm thinking that, you know what, these are not the diehard NFL fans. These are the casual fans that really could take it or leave it, and this is a reason for them to leave it.
So you said, most of this country is it's a patriotic country. It's what football is a true American sport. It's the one sport.
We're the only ones that play it.
It's right. It's the one thing that brings all things together. It's the one thing that's unspoken in the locker room, that we don't have conversations in the locker room about race and about all of these things. Because if we brought all of those things inside of our locker room, it will fold too quickly. And so when you think about what people are not doing, I'm with Shannon, then I don't know if you really enjoyed the sport the way the sport is supposed to be played.
Right.
I mean, it's supposed to be watched. Like, I will never stop watching football. I will never stop watching sports. It's what it is, and maybe I'm biased. But when you think about, I just think, him going against the flag, he rubbed a lot of people wrong, right? Who are just diehard. They just love our country and just love the flag. That's just bottom line where it is. Yeah.
That was to get the attention.
Yep.
Now he told you it was not about the flag.
Right.
It's not about the vets.
Yep.
It's not about the military. I did this to bring attention to a larger societal issue about the brutality of the police officers shooting unarmed black men in America.
Absolutely. And so it's really interesting because the moment this started to come out, all of these stories start to ramble, and Twitters and all this different stuff. And it's one of the things that I started doing from Ferguson, after Ferguson and Mike Brown unrest, and then Freddie Gray unrest, everything. So we actually put a physical business around that. Ferguson 1000, hence Baltimore 1000, right? Last week, it just happened Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We gave away almost 700 jobs on the spot that day, right? We gave expungements on people, records, who has all these things going on. We cleared people so they can go out and now live a life, so they don't choose gang life and all these different things. We partner with almost 75 companies, to where the companies, the presidents, the CEOs, and everybody of this company came together in this one community to understand what we're trying to do, because we truly believe if you go around in every urban neighborhood, the lack of jobs is the reason why a lot of this is going on. A lot of these people and kids are just losing their way, and you talk about what's the missing link. The missing link is they don't have freaking jobs. So guess what else they're gonna do, Shay? They're gonna go rob, they're gonna go steal, they're gonna go violent. And so when you talk about these issues, this is one issue, right, of cops killing kids, which puts me in a rage the moment I hear it, understanding I got 4 black young sons.
Right.
So I'm like, freak, okay, right? And then I'm also a person who's I've been through the flames. I've been through the fire of what that looks like, of what real injustice looked like. And so when you go through that, it's like, what's the bigger look? What's the bigger picture, Skip? And I truly believe economic development. Me talking to Jim Brown and talking to a bunch of guys that came through those times to try to understand what it is, how can we fix this thing? And you know, all of these people try to fix all of these issues, Skip, but the bottom line is, as a country, if we don't get back to loving each other, as we supposed to love each other, then we don't have a chance, no matter what's going on, no matter who's watching or who's not watching, right? We got to start patrolling our own freaking country again. We got to start taking accountability of what you're standing for, and then we really got to stop listening to a bunch of stupidity around serious issues, right? Because whatever stance he's made, I applaud him, right? You made your stance. Now there has to be something after that that then shows resolve, right? Yeah, and I think it must be solution-based for the entire country, and I think that's why, you know, Baltimore 1000 is created and why we're moving forward, man. Really, in every state, we have 7 more states lined up to really try to bring some type of resolve to this unrest.
Yeah, before you go, it would be interesting if they asked of those people that's not watching because of Colin Kaepernick's protest, what percentage of those people are upset about the injustices that the police brutality committee. See, you know, we'll protest that,
right?
But we won't protest this,
right?
That's my only. That's what. See, because you got to get. And I know this was only for a poll about football because the football ratings are down. But when we go, as Skip likes to say, when we go through the layers, when we get down a little further, now you're not watching because of that. What will you be willing to do because of this?
Right.
Okay. Before I go, could I shake your hand, please, for what you just said? Because this man is actually doing something instead of just saying something.
Absolutely.
And it needs to be done instead of talked about. The time for talking is past. We needed to talk to create awareness of an issue that you have talked eloquently and powerfully about on the show from day one, which is the killing of unarmed black men by white cops. That's that number one issue. There are other companion issues to that might even go deeper in some ways. But now back to we're just talking about TV ratings, and I'm not objective either in different ways than you guys. Look, when it comes to my NFL and my NBA, I'm a nut. I am a diehard. I'm going to watch it. I don't care what happens before it or after it. I'm going to watch it. But I also think I have enough awareness to know there are those out there, and I'm going to assume most of them are white people, but they feel as strongly about their flag and their country as you do about the race issues we've been talking about.
Absolutely.
And I told you earlier in the show, I appreciated what our President Barack Obama said a couple of weeks back, which is both sides need to stay open to each other. Listen, keep your eyes and your mind open to what the other side is saying or feeling or thinking. I think we have enough evidence that there's at least a small segment of our society who were fans, who are not, who've been turned off to the point they've turned off their TVs because of this issue. It's because of the ongoing protests to the point that those people in Buffalo, and I don't know what segment of the crowd it was, it could have been 10% for all I know, but as Colin, before his first start, he was the starting quarterback, as he knelt, he was booed, and then there was a chant that arose of USA, USA. And I'm sure if 3 people started chanting in that stadium of however 70,000 people, I'm sure then everybody would then join in to USA because we all love USA, right? Okay, so it grew louder and louder. My question to Shannon earlier in the show, and I'll pose it to Ray now, is it's a slippery slope you're on because we all love the NFL, and those who play and make their livelihood from it certainly want to protect the game. If you can show me that ongoing or escalating protests around the flag, around the anthem, are starting to threaten the golden goose that has been the NFL, the cash cow that has been the NFL, then I think everybody needs to step back and say, okay, how much farther should the protests go? Are there diminishing returns? Have you made your point? Has the message been sent and received enough in this world? Because it worked. Colin Kaepernick, I don't care what you say about him, it worked. The message got out. I don't care how closed ears a lot of people were, they got opened. Eyes got open. He was on the cover of Time magazine. I told you that as a white guy, I cringed when I first saw him sit for the anthem. But then as I started to listen, man, you want to talk about eloquent after those games? He drove home his point with background, historical perspective, and current perspective. And man, it worked. It got me. It opened. I think it got a lot of people. It was successful. So how much farther, Shannon and I talked about, you can't really ask Colin to stop kneeling now because it would look like he's backing off his point. So he needs to finish this year. But you raised the point. Okay, what about 2017, 2018? At what point do you threaten the platform upon which you are earning your livelihood? And a lot of people are earning their livelihood, the National Football League's platform. So do you have any thoughts about diminishing returns?
Well, you guys have hit on so many great points, right? Because his point of doing what he's done is raised the issue of gun violence, of white cops killing black kids, right? But there's so many really alarming issues out there when it comes to what numbers should be, right? Men and women lie. Numbers are very hard to get around. You know, you think about Baltimore, we have 249 homicides this year. We have 535 shootings this year in Baltimore alone. So you're talking about a real epidemic of a real issues that I go back and keep saying this, that we as a country, we are supposed to be held accountable for making this country better. We have let go of the substance of what our country is, right? We're desensitized to so many things now. You know, you have video games and everything highlighting murder and highlighting all of these things that's just so easily portrayed. You have these open lines of Twitter and all these different things that evil has now found its way in. And I think a true resolve, Shay, is we have to get back, just like the president said, and everybody must be open on both sides to understand and try to listen to what it is that we're trying to get done. Colin opened the door wide open for police violence, right? Now that it's open, there's a whole nother issue that we got to deal with. And I don't think it's about fans caring to watch. If not, if you don't watch, don't watch. Right? Because it's going to be, because we're going to watch it regardless. Right? And because it's what we do. It's the one place, and I said this earlier, it's the one place that we found a way to deal with race. You can't trick me, Skip, to make me believe that racism does not exist. No, I've been through that fire, so you can't trick me to that. So you can't make me bitter about certain issues when I know they already exist. Right? So, but the bigger issue is now that it's open, now stop fighting with each other. Right? Stop tweeting. If somebody want to call me and tell me that they don't agree with me, don't tweet me, call me. Because that's how men resolve things. Right? You don't tweet somebody because you want to be heard.
You know what I find so funny is that people will protest the protest, but not the action that led to the protest. Don't you find that out? Think about this now. We're not going to watch football because he's doing a peaceful protest. But what led him to the protest,
ain't got nothing to say. Disappear.
Well, I told you before, I don't know if that's a racist reaction or just a patriotic reaction or a mix of those two, but it's somewhere in between those two.
I think it's a mix.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's a mix.
I'm a firm believer there's nothing all, there's nothing every. There's segments and percentages in everything. But when you look at the Miami Dolphins, the police department said we might not be willing to offer protection because some of the players are taking a knee. How does a civil servant that's sworn to do a job take a stance like that openly and publicly? And very few people say, well, hold on, wait a minute. You sworn to do a job. You don't get to say, well, you know what? He's black. I don't want to rescue him. Or she's a woman. I don't want to rescue them. How do you get to say that if you go in that line of occupation?
Yeah. I think sometimes, and I listen to this a lot, I think we put these guys on a level that we're not on. We're all human. And these people have the same ability to choose right versus wrong. Right? And a bunch of these cops are 100% choosing wrong. And we say, how does a cop do that? Because if he take off that uniform, he's still who he is. Right? And that's why I think sometimes when we talk about these issues, we have to point out that that's a freaking human being making these decisions, right? To freaking kill black kids. And that's what we have to figure out. Why is it an issue? Start policing your freaking selves. But the bottom line is, man, if it's not solution-based, if it does not come with a physical solution, if it does not put economic development back in my urban neighborhoods,
That's
it
correct.
becomes irrelevant.
It does.
If you don't make a move, if nothing happens from this, and that's what Baltimore 1000 is screaming to everybody around the country, give them something to do. We will come to your city in 52 days and we will implement this program into your city. And when you see what happened in Baltimore, Shay, when you see gang members leaving the gangs, when you see them coming to me saying, I'm done, if you just help me out, if you can clear this off my record, everybody has said they won't give me a job, and I beg to differ. They said they won't give me a job. I will get you a job. Because if we don't do nothing, it's easy to be out front and say, this is what I'm fighting for. It's hard to be in the streets when you got to see the reality of what these people are really going through.
Wow.
And that's what my reality is. My reality is bringing something that can change this world for real. Because I'm not in the business of just talking. I like getting things done.
You do.
Right? And I think I'm taking a lot of advice from a lot of people who's been through things really, really sensitive like this to really say, look, take heat, but stand. Stand for the people and know that if we create opportunity, if we create this true economic development in urban neighborhoods, we will slow down the gang violence. We will slow down police thinking that every black kid is the exact same. They're not the exact same.
I agree.
Yeah.
Allow me to conclude. Every time we have these discussions, I always learn something from both of you, and I appreciate it.
Thanks for having that discussion with us, Skip, because it's not easy.
It's not.
It's not easy for a white man of your ilk to sit around the table and talk race.
Right.
That's a very uncomfortable topic. That's a very uncomfortable subject. Because don't talk about that. Because even in the sports, even my best friends in a locker room that we're fighting for the same cause, I never brought up religion with John Elway. I never brought up race. I never brought up what he made and all that. It was all football because that will destroy a dynamic. And so for you to be willing to have this conversation with us, and especially we started our show talking about this, man, I commend you. You don't understand how many guys at the barbershop back home called me and said, man, tell Skip thank you, man, for having this conversation.
Appreciate that very much.
Yeah, because all we want is to have a conversation, right? If most of us just had a conversation,
that's it.
Then we'll figure things out.
Yes.
Just gotta talk.
Yeah, just gotta talk.